Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome each and every one of you again to the Mindful Session. I want to thank you for being a part of the program. I want to thank you for the support. We would love for you to like and share this video. My name is UNISA KAMARA, and I have my co-host with me.
Hey, I got in there. How cool is that? Nice and easy this time. Hey guys, I'm Dave SLEETS, and as UNISA says, I'm a co-host. So
I never said the co-host.
Oh, come on. That's where I am. That's where I sit.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to basically talk about COVID. We're going to generalize it. We're going to try to touch upon different aspects of COVID. Now, David, the first pandemic came. It created a havoc. Now, I do understand that they were not ready for it. They were not prepared for it. So what occurred had occurred, so we'll leave that in the past. Now, we're coming into the second pandemic, which indeed we're on lockdown already. Started on Thursday. So being on lockdown, I have a lot of concerns, and I know you do as well. I was talking to a very close friend of mine, and her concern was being that, people that are blind or people that are losing their visions, what has been put in place to support them? Because I think, being that the government was aware, not is, but was aware of this second pandemic, I think they should have put certain protocols in place for their well-being, because they're at a higher risk.
Yeah, I think the thing for me that really kind of hit home with the need for a second lockdown was the fact that in the first lockdown, nothing was done to deal with the virus. The virus doesn't work in waves. It doesn't get on a bus and travel to different cities. It doesn't go to sleep at night or wake up in the morning and then we're all at risk of it. It's constant. In the first lockdown was designed to remove humans from contact with the virus, to limit the impact of mass numbers overwhelming the health service. And as a result, the health service focused on COVID. It didn't focus on anything else. All other treatments, all other care packages were all put onto the shelf almost carte blanche. So the support for anybody with cancers, with any chronic illness, any long-term illness, any degrading illnesses such as loss of sight, were all kind of curtailed, all put into a box and said, we'll get to that when we've dealt with COVID.
But I disagree with you in some aspect.
Okay.
I disagree because a large percentage of the healthcare workers were focusing on COVID. That is without a doubt. But also, there was a percentage that had to focus on a lot of these illnesses.
Yeah, there was. But the capacity to support those other areas was
limited. Correct.
And that meant huge numbers of people weren't able to get health check tests, weren't able to get remission tests, weren't able to get the routine treatments that they would have got had management been dealt with differently.
Correct, but also I feel as though these illnesses basically are death leading to death. If they're not managed properly, you understand? So I'm sure they put some protocols in place to say, okay, forgive me for saying this, David, you have cancer, stage 3. You understand? We have to set certain protocols, things has to be put in place for you. So we just cannot say, well, you're dying, so.
Okay, well, across the UK, there are thousands of reports from patients who were on treatment plans where those treatment plans stopped, and everything was put on hold, everything was delayed. Access to treatments, access to tests just wasn't happening. In taking people away from the virus and reducing contact with the virus, that's great. It did exactly what it was designed to do. But what it didn't do with was the fact that the virus is still active. The virus hasn't waned. What's waned is our interaction with the virus. So when they take that lockdown off and people go back out into the world, the virus is sitting there waiting. So the reconnection to the virus is obviously going to create a new wave of infections, a new wave of deaths. And did we take the lockdown off too soon? If we'd treated and prepped and dealt with the virus instead of focusing on let's just shut everyone away from it, the chances are we would have been able to come back out. You look at other countries that have dealt with this ahead of us, countries that have disinfected their streets, that have disinfected their schools, deep cleaned their office spaces, have taken proactive measures to attack the virus, they haven't had the same level of recontamination from the virus.
Or the same level of deaths.
Yeah. Because they didn't just say, let's come away from it and hope it goes away. They said, we'll take people away from it and we'll do something to reduce it. So if we don't do that bit, then when we come back out, the virus is just sitting there going, hey, I've been waiting for you guys.
Exactly.
Where you been? I missed you. Now let me get to your lungs.
I think a lot of things were not done properly, to be quite honest with you. I think, and as they were saying it, it's a new wave of virus. They never encountered such a thing.
Yeah.
So they needed to come up with different remedies.
Yeah.
Now, the way social media works is that everybody is telling you, oh, this is the remedy. Oh, this is not real. This is so-and-so. This so-and-so. The only thing I can say is precaution is better than cure.
Mm-hmm.
Protect yourself.
Yeah.
People are saying the mask are creating sore throats, wearing the mask. So I think with the government, just like you said, they're telling COVID, this virus don't sleep. It waits for you. It's not taking a break to say, oh, okay.
They're in lockdown.
Yeah, so
okay,
I can take a quick minute.
I'll just nap now.
And then when they come back, we'll deal with it.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think they have to look for another strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have to find a way because some people have it and don't even know they have it.
Yeah. And in the UK, we have had, in our recent history, reason to explain to people that at certain times you need to be in a safe space. You need to be underground, you need to be, it was during the war. We told people you can't go out during the evening because the chances of being caught in an air raid are going to be quite high. But what else we did was tell people what they can do, rather than just saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other. And when people have things that they can hook onto and be proactive and things that they can do, people go, okay, that makes sense. And when it makes sense, they trust the information that they're getting, they understand that it makes sense, and they believe that it's in their best interest. They'll follow suit, and they will act in their best interest. What we've had across the world, except in places like New Zealand, like Taiwan, like some of the Scandinavian countries, and I'm not putting them all together because the experiences are not the same right across the Scandinavian region, is a whole breakdown of belief, trust and understanding in the messaging. The messaging has been fragmented, disjointed, disconnected, doesn't make sense to the vast majority of people.
But you see, the thing, David, you know I'm not in supportive of a lot of things the government do.
Period.
But let's call a spade a spade. They are trying their best. But also,
Not knocking it. Not knocking it.
Okay, thank you for that. But also we need to understand that we the people have to follow the protocols that are being put in place. If I'm telling you, if you have a party, with more than 6 people, without that social distancing, now how do you know somebody in that party don't have it?
Yeah, I think the messaging was so far off of point because nobody knew what to say. Everything was, we've got to say something, we've got to be seen to be doing something rather than what actually makes sense. What are people going to understand here? What are people going to trust? What will people believe? The tub rating and communication on this was so low that people went, don't understand it, don't trust it, don't believe it, I'll make up my own.
I don't know about don't understand it. I think the fear kicked in.
Yeah.
In some people. And as you stated, some people did not believe in it.
Yeah.
So they challenged it. They went against the status quo.
Yeah. And if the messaging doesn't have those 3 key points across all of that messaging, then people will go, I'm going to do what I feel is right. They're not going to take the mask, the social distancing, the lockdown guidance, because they don't see that it's consistent. Take the situation of a lockdown where we work from home if you can, but your children can still go to school. So you can't,
that's ludicrous.
Right. So you can't mix, but your child can mix with thousands of potential contact points. Right? So a child is not immune, as we've seen from COVID, and
Absolutely.
The damage that we've seen on the back of children that have been through COVID is sometimes worse than COVID. So when you've got mixed messages like that people look at and go, that does not make sense.
But even right now, that's what they're putting in place as well. Instead of them to say we're going to shut the school down, do deep cleaning, they say it's okay for the kids to go to school. But workers should work from home. Just like you just...
Yeah. And how many people that would go to work have an infrastructure at home that would allow them to work from home effectively? The majority of us don't. Most of us don't have a home office. Most of us don't have the capacity to be able to go, right, I will make this my workspace and I will work as I would if I was at the office. That doesn't exist. It's a false economy to create this idea that people can work from home. There's a reason why that was never in place as standard before, and we want people to go to work, was to give them the space in order to do the work.
That is correct.
So the whole mass messaging has been so fragmented that people look at it and go, well, that bit doesn't connect to that bit, so those two bits don't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then why am I going to put myself or my family through it? When all I need to do is take the basic measures. This is a virus, we're not going to get rid of it, we can't get rid of it, we need to work out how we work with it and how we cope with it. The death rates are off the chart.
Sky high.
When we isolate all other scenarios.
You know, the most difficult thing that I found hard to swallow was during the first lockdown, when they stated that if someone had to die, they should die from home. Imagine you dying at home, then your little daughter is the one to find you dead. And they cannot remove that body automatically. Think about the trauma, the mental health that is going to follow behind it.
Yeah. And this
I
is,
think a lot of these people that make a lot of these rules and regulations are actually not thinking it through.
and as we just kind of looked at with education and employment,
Right.
those two things don't add up.
They don't.
We have been saying for near enough a generation and a half that isolation is bad for our mental health. We are social creatures. We need to maintain connection. Have we seen situations where that connection can be added to in this? No. What we've seen is isolate. Care homes where you cannot
Did you
have
hear?
contact.
Did you hear about this 73-year-old lady that got arrested for hugging her mother?
The
I think 70.
the grandmother, daughter, and granddaughter all in the car talking this. They were
Picked up from the care home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous. So I can no longer
unarrested.
embrace my mother.
Yeah. Unarrested. This is the whole perception of how a virus works has been blown so far out of reality that the idea that we have to have everything shut down by 10 o'clock and everybody needs to be at home.
Hold on.
The virus
Hold on.
doesn't wake up at 10 o'clock.
That's what I was literally about to say that.
It's like...
Wait, I should go home at 10 o'clock to sleep because the virus is now awake. Come on.
It doesn't work like that. So this whole process has really been an exercise in people control, and it's
I've heard that.
rather than viral control.
You know, I wanted, because when you talk to a lot of these government officials, they will tell you, there's so much I want to say, David. Because the fact that when you talk to them, they will have a conversation with you, but when you say, will you come on the show and speak on this?
I'm not permitted to do that.
Thank you. Seriously. You need to come on this show and explain to our viewers. People need to know the facts. We have questions.
Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of the politicians that have gone public and been asked questions about the virus, they fall back on, well, the science is telling us and we're acting on what the science says. And it's quite telling how the goalposts move on this. Because at the beginning, science was saying one thing and the evidence was showing something
different.
that relatively looked at what's the same as what science was saying. And politicians were saying, well, no, we don't want to go down that road yet. So we're not going to listen to that, we're going to go down this road. And when that road doesn't work, it's the science fault. It's the scientists who gave the advice, because the politicians don't want to shut down. They don't think it's going to be this bad because the scientists are saying you really need to consider that you need to contain this and you need to deal with this. You look at, the idea of regional lockdowns. The virus doesn't get on a bus and go somewhere else. People do. So if you have a lockdown in Manchester, like Manchester asked for,
Manchester did not ask for this time. It's been forced.
It's been forced on them.
Yeah, it's been forced. And which did the mayor?
It was asked previously, and they were told, no, we're not going to do regional lockdowns, right? The whole point.
Why don't we get the mayor of Manchester on the show?
Because I think Andy's a bit busy trying to keep Manchester going.
Yeah, Andy, he's a good guy.
He is a great guy.
And he's very talkative.
He is one of the best politicians that this country has probably produced.
I'm not going to say that.
Come on the show.
Why don't we give Andy a call?
I would love to.
Should you do it or should I do it?
We both do it.
Okay.
Right. So that's what we will endeavour to speak to Andy Burnham and get direct interaction there. But the idea of local lockdowns. If you think you're in an area that's got a local lockdown, you can't do the things that you want to do. But the city next door, they don't have a local lockdown. There is nothing stopping you going across. And therefore, anything that you carry from that lockdown area, you take it. Whether it's on purpose or not, this virus doesn't give you a badge to say you are carrying me.
That is a fact.
And because you can be contagious without being symptomatic, you don't know.
And that's the scariest thing. Having it and not showing any symptoms.
Mm-hmm. But you can pass it to absolutely everyone in your close circle.
But human beings are also quite wicked. They have shown so many different videos where, I'm sick. Let me put it on the buttons on the lift in the elevator. Mm-hmm. They'll go to the shops and do some wicked things. I just don't understand.
And
why we as a human race are so spiteful, wicked towards each other.
And that is a bigger issue about those individuals. That is an issue for those individuals.
So I think government is trying, but also you have people that are trying to sabotage what it is that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go to the protocols that are being put in place now. As we stated in the beginning, hypothetically, we're blind. Okay. If it hit the fan, what are we to do? What centers can we call? How are we going to get food home? Who's going to be there to support us?
Yeah.
Do you know of any protocols that have been put in place for these people?
No.
And also, when you're blind, the process is slower.
Mm-hmm. I think I saw a post from a young lad. I can't remember his name, and I'm really sorry. I can't call it. I'll take a look and try and put it into the comments.
Alzheimer's.
Later on. Alzheimer's, yeah. But this young lad was pointing out that when change is forced on you and you have no control over it, it's difficult to adjust, isn't it? Right?
It is.
Right. Welcome to autism. Because the whole world for that audience of young people has always been chop, change, chop, change. It's hard to adjust to. Now the whole world is having to adjust to chop and change. Welcome to autism. And I thought it was a really great way of kind of going, guys, let's look at the reality of this. If we want to survive COVID, we have to do it together. We cannot wait for a government to get its finger out and go, right,
Do you
okay,
think we as human race understand what sincerely together means? You, Kenny, Tommy, Johnny, all of you understand that. Me, Thomas, and this team,
we don't care.
We don't care.
Yeah.
So while you two are trying to do the togetherness, we're trying to create a havoc.
Well,
because why? We don't believe your belief.
Yeah, because it's survival of individual or survival of species. And I think, we've said before, if you look at COVID as one of those kind of Star Trek science fiction invasions of an invisible entity, which in essence a virus is. You can't see it, but it invades you. This is that invasion. And it's swept the planet. And as a planet, we've retreated into our individual little nations and our individual little groups and our individual families. And
our individual corners.
Right? And being told that's the way we're going to survive this. No, this is the way we hide from this. If we are going to deal with an invisible invasion, we don't do it hiding in our corners. We don't hide, we don't beat it by hiding and fighting for ourselves. We do it by coming together and using the force of our humanity.
So what is the force of humanity? How can you, the force of humanity, quote unquote, the force of humanity, fight an invisible enemy? Okay. That don't sound realistic to me.
Okay, so one, we know that viruses will have a potency time frame, right?
Correct.
And we know that if we can survive that potency time frame, when outlive that potency time frame, then we can beat the virus.
But it's not everyone that can beat that.
No. So we have to.
So we have to make sacrifices.
No.
So you're saying sacrifice the weak?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
So let the strong survive.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
So what are you telling me?
That was Darwin. That's what Darwin would say. Survival of the fittest. Hey ho, right? What I'm saying is, we understand how viruses work. We understand how the corona viruses are framed and operate, which is why we've never had a cure for the common cold.
It's an assumption. They have yet to give us anything factual, David. Let's be realistic.
Look at
what can you tell me or these viewers right now that the government have stated that is of a fact?
What the scientists have said is this is a coronavirus.
It's a name.
This is of this family.
It's just given a name. They needed to label it.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what society does. That's what the government does. That's what scientists do.
So what they've done is identify it within a group of viruses, okay, that all operate in similar pattern with
different threads,
right? Is a thread of virulence that we've not seen before.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, yes.
Right. So we know that this virus has a potency spike. We know that the life of that potency spike within coronaviruses can be survived.
Correct.
Right. So what we have to do as a species is look at how do we maximize our survival through that potency spike. Because if we can get through the potency spike, then we've got a chance of beating it. If we can't get through the potency spike, and I don't believe we're through that yet, I think because the management has gone, let's remove everybody from the spike. The spike is still there. We've let people go back into it.
David, I always enjoy our conversations. And that's one thing the viewers always say. You and David's conversation is like, ooh. 1 minute you two on the same page,
and then the next page is apart. It's brilliant.
But the thing is that we're aware it exists. Well, some of us You understand? Because for you to sit there and say that you don't believe in it, and you see people dying, you heard of people dying, maybe it has not knocked on your door yet, but you heard, and you still in denial. Okay, so you saying we need to build a strong front, right? So you saying by all of us being out there, it's creating a strong front?
What I'm
That's
saying,
not going to make it go away.
No, it's not. The virus isn't going away.
Precisely.
Period. And we need to accept that the ways in which we have dealt with things like this in the past and the way our systems work, we've talked about 2020 being a year of opportunity to get rid of the things that don't work. We can go into 2021 as a solid species front of saying, we need to survive this. In order to survive this, we have to be preventative in our own actions, but collectively.
Now you're talking.
Okay, so I'm not saying let the weak go, because the weak...
Because by you saying create a strong front, so we put the strong in the front and the weak in the back?
What I'm saying is, as a species, we create a strong front by saying, as a species, we are going to stand up and prevent this as much as we possibly can getting inside our lungs. That means masks. However uncomfortable they are, it's a process. It's a bit like when you get a new pair of shoes. They're gonna be uncomfortable, but you know as well as I do, once you've broken those in, you'll wear those shoes every day, and you won't even think about it.
I only have one pair of shoes, so I don't know.
You know, because they're comfortable.
Yeah.
Because
I can't afford another pair of shoes.
But when you got those shoes, they weren't as comfortable. You had to break them in. You had to get used to wearing them, and that's the same with wearing masks. You know, it's not something that we are used to doing. It's not something.
We just have to adjust with time.
Yeah, and we have to give ourselves time to process and to adjust as quickly as we can.
And you and I have spoken so much in reference to the conscience, the subconscious, the mind. If you train yourself to understand that this is to save my life, you understand, you will eventually find that comfortability in protecting yourself. And you will also, your conscience will remind you when you're walking out the door, do you have your mask?
Yeah. Have I got my keys? Where's my phone? Where's
my
my
mask?
We've got a whole new chorus.
That's it.
You know? And the whole thing is that self-awareness that we cannot control the virus, but we can control what we do to combat it.
Yes.
And to combat it, we've got to get through its potency spike. We're not through that yet, by any stretch. And a lockdown that we've been given in the UK for 4 weeks.
We don't know if it's going to be extended.
Exactly. And the majority of people know that when this whole process started, we're going to do this for 3 weeks and then we'll look again.
Yeah.
We're going to extend it for another 3 weeks and we'll look at it again. We'll do this for another 3 weeks and look at it again. It went on and on and on. And it lost people's confidence in the communication. Because the majority of people that understood how viruses worked knew 3 weeks, that's not going to do it. We've got to get used to this. We've got to say goodbye to the old processes. We've got to start building new.
You know, I think that basically, to be quite honest with you, I might sound a little bit selfish or harsh, ladies and gentlemen, but I think the government literally don't care. They care more about the financial aspect of the country. Because
you know, somebody said to me, there is financial ways of protecting a country in crisis. You could have pressed the pause button, because what we've seen is the utility companies have made a fortune because people are at home, so the energy level is going up that
Absolutely.
They're being charged for. They're having to pay for it. Water usage, all of those things are now at home for those individuals to pay. when they're on 80% of their income. We've seen debt.
Did you say
go through
80% of their income?
Well, furlough is 80% income.
Okay.
So your income has dropped by 20%.
But which it is going to drop more. So that's why I say, you sure?
What they're
We
saying,
need to be realistic.
What the Chancellor announced this week was that furlough was staying at 80%.
The Chancellor, hold on. Let me think about that for a minute. Isn't that a politician?
Mm-hmm. Who gave? Yeah. Do we think that that's? We can only go on what's being said at the moment.
Yeah.
At the moment,
okay, I'll take that as well.
It is 80%. Furlough will stay until March at 80%. So incomes have dropped by 20%. Household incomes have dropped by 20%. The utility bills have gone up because now people are at home. So the utility bill companies are making a load more money. People are going into debt because the money's gone down and the bills have gone up. And the banks are still making money off of the interest off of the debt. So the financial institutions could have, utopia, okay, could have gone, do you know what, we press the pause button, so no mortgages are now...
I'm happy you brought this up. A friend of mine, I'm not going to call your name, she just purchased a house, her and her husband.
Mm-hmm.
The husband is laid off. She's working, and her company is on the verge of, being shut as well. Mm-hmm. And her worries, the bank refused, because remember, first-time buyers, the banks were given a certain percentage, the government, and now that's been taken off. So the worries are there. Yeah, all the support system that initially they were given, now it's gone. The buses, if you get in the bus, you have to pay. Before, it was free. So now that we're going into the second pandemic, they were going to extend the congestion charges, the congestion as well, congestion area. But they said they're going to hold on it, but they increased, the congestion, 1750 to come into London.
Yeah, when you take into account the ultra low emissions zones.
But if you're driving a diesel, when I went to Manchester, it was like, I think, £99 to drive into the congestion. That's ludicrous. If people are not working, people are losing their jobs, they have their kids, they have responsibilities, they have all these things on their minds. And come on.
And on top of that,
I can foresee the mayhem coming.
The mayhem that comes from all of this will create a psychological collapse. And we're already seeing suicide rates spike.
Definitely.
Was it reported this week? 39% up in the UK of suicides. Just in the lockdown period.
This short period.
It's just frightening. And we have a system that is giving short-term outlooks that have devastating long-term impacts. And until we get the balance back, the impact, the action now, the coping strategies being put in place now are able to balance the long-term impacts, we are always going to come up short and we are always going to suffer. Now, if we as individuals know this and we are waiting for our politicians to come up with a solution, we're going to be waiting a long time and we will suffer as a result. We have to come together as individuals and go, guys, what can we do to reduce our risk of the virus, but what can we do to maximize our working capacity to get through this? Staying at home is not going to be the answer. Closing pubs, yes, great, close pubs. Here's a suggestion to Witherspoons, to every pub company in the country. People cannot work at home and function effectively because they don't have that infrastructure. Use your pub spaces, set up cubicles, and hire those out for the day and let those become the workspace away from home.
But what is the difference in going to the office and then going to a pub? Let's be realistic. If we can say, okay, let's rent the pubs for them to come in and have a cubicle, you can come to my job and work for me as well.
Okay.
So
I would suggest that more people would have a pub closer to their home than their work. Therefore, you take out the commute in order to get.
So that means, so it's not everyone that work for the same company that live in that same circumference.
No.
So that means
turning the pub into that business's remote satellite office space. What I'm saying is, we have to come up with solutions together to maximize the support for everybody. So you work in one company, I work in another. We live on the same street, but our local pub has been turned over to workspace. You can go in to the pub and have your office cubicle space within the pub. I can go in and work. We can get on and work.
Okay.
It gives us that space away from home.
I do understand what you're saying, but we need to understand the financial aspect of this.
Right. You think, as it stands at the moment, putting all that plastic and all that cubicles,
yes,
that's a huge cost.
It
right?
is.
And it could be £300 for a pub to get a set of cubicle spaces plus.
I think it's going to be more than that.
Right. No, a set for that.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay. That's huge. But if the government is turning around to the suppliers and the manufacturers of that plastic and saying we need this in, this is a huge national crisis that we need to be working together, support. We're telling.
So you're telling me that the government should go and bamboozle? I like that word.
Bamboozle. What I'm saying.
And these factory owners and tell them you have to give us this due to the fact.
No, what I'm saying is if the government is saying this is one way, and it's just one suggestion of how we can make sure that one, those factories are producing what is needed.
Of course.
Okay, so they're able to earn, right? But they're not earning because they're doing a small run of screens. Because one pub has come up and gone, do you know what, this is what I'm going to do. If we're saying this is across the entire country, those factories are going to be mass producing those screens. Which means the cost to those businesses is going to go down. The factory is going to be earning, people are going to be working, people are able to get out of their homes and go to work. And again, getting out of the house to go to work, even if it is just down the road to somewhere that you've got a work cubicle, is going to be better for your mental health than getting up and going to work in your home when that is not your working environment.
You know, we have to be a little more realistic. We have the introverts and the extroverts. Mm-hmm. There's some that want to be home.
Yep.
Quite comfortable in that environment.
And that's absolutely fine.
And also, a lot of them have not been home to have that interaction with their families. So they appreciate this little time.
And it's about getting that balance and giving people the space to be able to make those decisions for themselves. Create the environment where people can make decisions. Give them things that they can do rather than things that they can't. And if you keep telling people you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that, eventually what happens? People go, I'm not listening anymore. I'm just going to go and do what I need to do. Because otherwise I'll go nuts. And we've got to get out of this cycle of telling people what they can't do but not giving them anything they can. If we can get to a point where our governments are giving us a full cycle of things, this is what you can do, and here are choices that you can make that keep you safe, that keep your community earning, that allow you to support your family, allow businesses to keep operating, then more people will go, okay, I can understand that. It's all connected. While we keep giving this bit of information here and a bit of information here and a bit of information here, people go, doesn't fit. And if it doesn't fit, I'm not listening.
You know, like I will say again, I am not a big fan of a lot of these governmental officials.
Mm-hmm. I'm not applying for the job, by the way.
You know, but the thing is that sometimes we have to give credit where credit is due. They're trying to deal with this to the best of their ability. Now, do they have all the answers? No. Are they trying to give us information as they get it? Who knows? Do they have all this information already? Who knows? But all I can say is, I work with the LD, spectrum, the learning disability, and I've seen the protocols that has been put in place for them. You understand? And my concern is and was, what protocols has been put in place for the blind, the people that are going blind, the people that are blind? What protocols are put for the youths?
Survival.
What?
You know.
We need to get an official here.
You know as well as I do. In the UK, the system has fallen into last line of defence already. And it's down to the individuals to make choices about how they protect themselves when all of the other support systems from state are being closed down to protect against COVID. COVID is being used, in my mind, as a really good forerunner so we can see what systems are brought back and what systems people have survived without. And that's the danger. If we don't get this right, there are going to be systems of support that we are used to seeing that just will not be reawakened.
You know, the greatest thing I love about human beings is the fact that they're willing to give themselves, some human beings, that they will volunteer. Some people that have COVID, if they say, can you volunteer, can we do some tests on you, they will say yes. Some people that don't have COVID, I seen a whole queue, a line, you understand, people in Dubai, did you see it? That were just out there trying to volunteer to make a difference in society. Now, you want to tell me with all these people that are volunteering, willing to give themselves to make a difference in the lives of so many, you want to tell me all this time they cannot find a cure? Wait, the way technology is, David, let's be realistic. You and I, we out there. We know some. We don't know all, but we know some of the capabilities of...
Yeah, and I'm going to make a wager. In 100 years of research of coronaviruses, science has given us, with all of the developments in technology, we have Lemsip and we have the cold vaccine or the flu vaccine, which isn't a vaccine. It treats some of the symptoms of some flus. Okay? Coronavirus is the one medical science anomaly that in 100 years of research we haven't been able to get a handle on.
I don't think so. If they are making, they're now, this is how technology has improved. If you're a pregnant woman, I'm not going to use it this time.
Thanks.
You know, pregnant woman, if your child is sick, they're able to recreate, their organs. Technology has improved. Now, if I'm ill, they're able to give me a stem cell that will restructure a bone or whatever it is that they need to fix in within me. So if technology is rapidly growing and they're challenging themselves on a regular basis, you really want to tell me we cannot grasp the cure for COVID?
I suspect that we will be told in the summer of next year that we have a treatment that will help some people with COVID. Okay? I do not believe for a second that Mother Nature is going to give us that cure 100%. No way. Bearing in mind,
I agree with you on that.
Coronaviruses have been researched since 1921. Okay? Universities, pharmaceutical companies that have come along in the last 18 months and gone, give us your money and we will put all of our efforts into researching a vaccine for COVID, have made more money in the last year than they have made in the last 5. Because they are offering something that in 100 years of research they've not been able to get close to. This idea of a silver bullet in pharmaceuticals on coronaviruses is exactly what it sounds like. It's a myth. You will not get a silver bullet on a coronavirus. If we were close to it, we would never have the common cold. Common cold is made up of a whole bunch of coronaviruses that we can't...
Corona cells.
Corona cells. Okay? The whole point of this drive for a vaccine has been financial.
Yes.
Because what else has happened in the last 5 years is pharmaceutical revenues have gone down.
No, it has increased.
It's gone down on the sense of people looking for cures for the cold, for things like this, because they know that they can't get it. So they go and they make their own herbal remedies. So the one place where they were making shed loads of money has dropped. Now they've got they've made more making money on this shed load of money based on we can give you the silver bullet. And it's not going to happen. It's a myth. And people, in my mind, know that. And that's why there are so many people saying if they come up with anything, I'm not taking it unless it's gone through the measures that any other vaccine would go through.
But vaccination, it's about a 3-year test. So there's no way right now they can say we're going to create it and be able to put it out there. So someone understand where you're coming from.
It's a myth that we're going to have a virus by the end of the year. We're going to have this, we're going to have that. It'll
because
go away in the
to,
summer.
Yeah.
It'll do this, it'll do that. No, viruses don't do that. They don't wait for your postcard to say, right, okay, now you can go away.
I've arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, it's just so many people are terrified.
And
the fear is increasing, and like you said,
media is driving that fear.
Of course, the media plays a big part, the biggest part. Yeah. But again, they're just trying to inform the people, but the way they're going about it.
When you have 24-hour news that has an 18-minute cycle, which is what we have across the Western world anyway. It doesn't matter whether you are informing. You inform once, anything else after that is repetition.
But it is repetition.
Okay, so when
consistent repetition.
Right, so we've got repetition every 18 minutes.
That's it.
Right? So what that does in the brain is go, this is really bad. Because nothing else has come up. This is the only thing. This is all that matters. This is that.
The only reason why nowadays you see me watching the news is due to what's going on in America.
Why? What's happening in America?
Oh, unfortunately, people are fighting for the overall office. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So I just want to know who is going to get in that office.
I'm hoping that the world realizes that at the end of the day, we can only control what we can control. What we can't control, we need to allow to be controlled elsewhere. We can control what we do and our actions. And when it comes to COVID, what we do, our actions, are to protect us, to protect those around us, and to protect those that we might come into contact with. That is the only control that we have as individuals when it comes to COVID.
You see, when it comes to COVID, David, I cannot speak on anyone else, and a lot of you that watch this show know how I always say I don't believe in medication.
Mm-hmm.
I am terrified of needles. I'll be the first to say it.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe not in the horrible aspect, but I believe in my body.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Equip your body to deal
with whatever it encounters. Yeah. So, all I can say to you, ladies and gentlemen.
Eat well, sleep well, be well.
Well, I wish the sleeping well can come into play, because I'm up till, what David and I are trying to convey, what David and I are trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, is that you have to protect yourself. You have to protect the people you come in contact with. But most importantly, think about your family. It don't matter whether you believe in it, it's going on, the COVID is out there. Listen, think about your mom. Think about your partner. Think about your kids, if you have kids. Protect the ones you love. Wearing a mask is not going to hurt you. For that period, you just going into the shop and back out. Protect yourself. And I am also aware the fact that I have bacteria. We all have bacteria, that protect us from other bacteria. And they say by us putting this alcohol on our hand, it's killing our defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I think it's a very easy target to attack hand washing. I think, like most things, it's the balance. If you are going to overdose on sanitizer, you are going to damage your body's capacity. Your body will turn off its own defense mechanism.
Precisely.
Like most things. It's about what is effective and what is prudent. If you are getting to the point where, what's it called, germaphobe, where you are washing everything the whole time, then something's gone wrong. We don't need to be at that point, okay? Yes, our bodies create defences for us, and we have to let the body do its job. Otherwise, the body will turn it off. It's what we've seen with the rise of asthmas and other things, where we put people into clean environments, and all of a sudden they go out into
incubators,
the real world, and they're completely clean. They've got the antibodies have been turned off because we've not given people exposure to things.
When I had my daughter, when we had our daughter, all my partner used to do was give organic food. Organic. If it's not organic, mm-hmm. she will not eat. Mm-hmm. My mother came to visit, and they went shopping. I'm home, put my foot up, trying to relax. And my mom is like, "What is wrong with you? You're building this child to get sick. Let the child be a child." Mm-hmm. You understand?
Play with the mud. Eat
the
mud.
And let her eat different foods, because you guys always traveling. So what do you do when you go to another country? We say we look for the organic shops.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
No, but it's when you
it's
always
balance, UNISA.
It is. There has to be balance.
And we've got to apply common sense. Okay, if you are in a high risk area, you take high defense measures. If you're in a low risk area, you don't take high risk defense measures. It's fairly straightforward. But it's about your comfort, protection of you, protection of your family, protection of those that you come into contact with.
David, let me just say this. Around where I live at, I always talk about this. You can walk down the street, literally, you will not see that many people. Whenever I come into London, I think they don't know what lockdown means. Sincerely.
Yeah.
We went to Trafalgar Square. I felt like I was in Manhattan, New York. People were still up and down passing you by like nothing. I'm like, seriously? It's just...
And this is where
they're not respecting.
I think this comes back to what we said earlier, is the mass messaging was so disjointed, so fragmented, that the trust, understanding and believability in the public's perception of what they were being told was lost.
Yeah, but it's not everywhere though, David.
No, it's not everywhere. I don't want to suggest it is everywhere. But what I'm saying is, where you have that breakdown of that tub rating in the communication, you are going to get the breakdown in people's functionality to what you want. And this is what we've seen in major cities, where people go, it doesn't make sense. And it's not just one city, it's right across.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it right across the world, where communication from leadership has lost its trust, lost its understanding, lost its believability. People go, do you know what, we'll make it up ourselves, thank you very much, we'll do what we want, what feels right for us and what makes sense for our family. And when we've got that situation, we are so close to the point where it doesn't matter what the politicians tell us. We've come away from listening to that. And that's a very dangerous place for us to be. But, wrapping the show up.
Let me just say, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you all. David is now the anchor. He has to tell me when the show should stop. He has to tell me what papers I need to sign. So, I'm just... But anyway, welcome to our new studio.
I think we missed out on it last week, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And
we got comments.
Really?
Oh.
I'm really sorry that we missed it. We were really excited about it.
We were.
Okay, let's go with this. And then we got into the show and completely forgot. So what do you think? Give us your comments. Let us know what you think about the new set.
Right. And as you can see, David and I were all in blue, so we can match our studio.
It's a happy coincidence. There
No.
wasn't a memo.
I sent you a memo.
No, there wasn't.
He just did not respond to the
There
memo.
wasn't a memo. Guys, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you on another mindful session.
Please share the video. Please continue to watch. Please like. And by God's grace, we shall see you next week. Stay safe. Protect yourself. Follow every precaution that is put out there. These regulations are there to make you well. These things are put in place for your betterment, ladies and gentlemen. Even if you don't believe in it, just do what you can do to protect your family. Because if something happened to you, that will create a lot of pain, a lot of, things. And with everything that is going on, your family loves you, and I know you have the love for them. So protect them. Be there for them. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. There are videos out there that show you how to wash your hands. Get the fingers thin. Oh, I know how to wash my hands. I work in the medical field. So all we can say is we cannot put enough emphasis on it. It has started. We don't know when it's going to end. Like David said, it might be in the middle of September. But we're all aware of the fact that every vaccination, before it goes into the market, has to go through that 3-year trial period. So there's no way that they can come out and say they have discovered it, the cure, without going through the proper channels. So while we're going through this, just know that you are not alone. We're in this together. And as David said, we need to build a strong front. And the best way to build a strong front is by us protecting each other. I love you. I bid you a good day, David.
Have a great week, everybody.
Good night. Share the video, please. Like the video.
You are watching AMAZE TV.